Despite the freeze warning yesterday, did you see that yesterday? There was a freezing weather warning.
No.
Despite that freezing weather warning yesterday, where I was bundled up in a fleece, shivering under blankets, it is beginning to be spring. And with that, you might find yourself saying, hey, it's so nice outside. Why don't we find a neighborhood spot and sit outside for a cup of coffee or a glass of wine?
Or let's have dinner on this nice patio with my 3-year-old child.
So that leads into this week's episode. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Rolin Forward podcast.
I'm Dr. Alicia Rolin.
I'm Dr. Stephanie Rolin.
I'm a pediatrician.
I'm a psychiatrist.
We're both clinician researchers and now podcasters.
We decided to do this episode for something that feels really universal. It's probably happened to you before. It's probably going to happen to you again, but it still catches you off guard. So like the weather's nice. You're like, hey, let's go out to eat. And then you're thinking, this is going to be fun. This is going to be relaxing. And within 10 minutes, it is not. It is not.
It's immediately not. Someone's hungry. Someone won't sit. Someone hates everything on the menu. That's usually me.
I know. The kids. So then you're like, how did things go so wrong and so quickly?
And why did I think that this was going to go well when it's never gone well before?
Yeah, this like amnesia that we get. So today our episode is going to focus on the question, the age-old question. Why is eating out with kids so hard? Because it feels like it shouldn't be this hard.
So we're going to walk through this in 4 parts. First, what's actually going on developmentally. Then, where expectations do not meet reality. Then we'll talk about what actually helps, including what to do instead of just handing over your cell phone and giving it and being like, screen time, mommy needs a minute.
Which happens. It happens. But we're going to give you some alternatives in case you wanted to try something different. And then we'll talk about what to do in the moment when it's just not working. So let's get started.
Okay, Stephanie, let's start with the basics. Why does this fall apart so fast? So fast.
It's so fast. I remember before becoming a parent, living in the city, not having my own outdoor space. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the cafe at the corner, sit with a book, drink a cup of coffee, have a glass of wine. It's going to be amazing. And all of a sudden now I want to do that with a toddler, and it feels really different.
Really different.
Because restaurants are asking kids to do a cluster of skills that actually develop quite a bit later. You're asking them to sit still, wait, inhibit their impulses, tolerate boredom, and regulate behavior all at the same time.
That seems like a lot of executive functioning.
And executive function in particular, things like inhibitory control, working memory, cognitive flexibility, that really develops gradually across early childhood into adolescence. So young children, especially if you're parenting toddlers or preschoolers right now, they have pretty limited capacity for delay of gratification and impulse control.
So they can't sit, they can't wait. Overall, that's not too surprising.
Right. It's expected. So this isn't really a behavior problem. It's more of a developmental mismatch between where they are and what the setting is asking for.
And then you add hunger.
Hunger. Yeah, the hunger is actually really important because there is consistent evidence that hunger and low glucose are associated with increased irritability and reduced self-control, even in adults.
Also known as hanger.
Hanger. We've all heard it. So you are now asking a child who has limited regulatory capacity to perform at their best while physiologically stressed.
So you're basically stacking the deck against you.
Against yourself. That is totally true. You're going into a high-demand environment layered onto an immature regulatory system.
Okay. So, where does this really go wrong?
Expectations. When I expect to go to the cafe at the corner and have the same experience with a toddler as without a toddler, that's the problem. Because I'm expecting a child to behave like a small adult in an environment that is actually really demanding.
Right, we're asking them to sit, wait, chat quietly to themselves, tolerate delays, Enjoy the meal politely, without food falling all over the floor, using a knife and fork.
And restaurants are so unpredictable. The timing is uncertain. You don't know when the menu is coming by, when the food's going to be delivered. And the environment is stimulating. There's noise, movement, novelty, people coming in and out.
And kids really don't have a strong sense of time. Marvell keeps saying the house is really far away when we're next door.
She also asks us to set a timer for 0 minutes. Doesn't have concept of time at all. Because developmentally, time perception is immature. So saying the food is coming doesn't regulate behavior. It just prolongs uncertainty.
And so the waiting feels endless.
And then there's the parent piece.
Because you feel watched and judged by everyone else who's there trying to have that nice, relaxing child-free time.
Until you showed up. And this matters because there's strong evidence for co-regulation. Children use caregiver emotional states as cues. So when a parent or guardian becomes anxious or stressed, children notice that, they co-regulate, and their arousal also increases.
So now you have a stressed parent and a dysregulated child.
It's this tornado, this vortex, and then that's when things start to escalate.
Okay. I understand why this might not be a relaxing, zen, calm experience at the local happy hour. But what can you actually do to have a semi-relaxing zen experience at the local happy hour?
Well, the biggest shift here is going to be reframing. This is not a relaxing meal. This is a structured activity that requires support.
Okay, that already feels more accurate.
When you compare it more to going to swimming or to gymnastics, you understand that this is structure, it needs support. And then the timing of going out to a restaurant matters. You want to avoid going when your kids are overtired and hungry.
I feel like whenever you're on a road trip, that's exactly when you go to a restaurant. When you've been in the car too long, everyone is overtired and extremely hungry.
It's so true. And the next thing to do is to reduce the wait when possible. Order quickly, get something on the table. Say, hey, can you just bring us those breadsticks? Or I'll take the croissant that's there. Order it as you're being seated at the table.
We've made it a habit when they ask what drinks we want, we already order the toddler's main meal.
Yes.
The toddler meal coming out last does not bode well for the table.
It does not. Because the early windows where things really fall apart. And then there's practice. It sounds silly to practice going to a restaurant, but this really helps kids where it starts to feel more familiar and they have more opportunities. So we've been doing this with Marvell. We'll go to a cafe, something short and low stakes. Starting when she was young, we would go for 10 minutes. I would order a coffee. She would get a croissant. We would sit. And when it was time to go, it was time to go.
It's very contained. It's very brief. And we are working on regulation.
And now she's much more into restaurants. She actually loves going to restaurants. She's a little bit of a foodie. And there are different rituals that she likes of it because we've practiced it over time. She likes holding the menu. She likes pointing at the display case. She likes ordering for herself. And she always orders
chocolate
and pasta, and then tapping the card to pay.
She really enjoys the participation of it.
And she enjoys watching people. She mirrors behavior. So if someone at the table next to us is laughing, she begins laughing too, even though she has no idea why.
Which is actually classic social learning.
Because kids learn through modeling and observation. So these 5 to 10 minute cafe outings that are now stretching into more of a meal, they're not just exposure, they're skill building.
And so you're scaffolding the behavior.
Building skills in manageable environments.
And the environment really matters.
This is huge. You know that some places are simply more compatible with children. You can feel it. You walk in, they smile when they see your kids. They know what table they like. They bring you the water or the snack right away. And there are other places you walk in and you just don't feel like it's a good fit. You can just feel it.
If they don't offer you crayons, a kid menu, and a high chair, maybe it's not the right place.
Because there are some places that are just rigid and high pressure. And compared to a place that is flexible, welcoming, responsive, those places that are unwelcoming are going to increase the regulatory demand.
It's not just the child with dysregulation, it's the fit between the child and the environment. Let's talk about phones, screens.
Yes. Phones work. It's true. Your child is screaming, and then Bluey or Miss Rachel comes on, and boom, they are quiet.
Magic.
It really does feel like magic. Like when you need it, the magic is there. But what we know from attention and self-regulation research is that screens work as a passive distraction. And in fact, compared to a passive distraction, active engagement really does support regulation better.
So what does that look like?
It looks like drawing, simple games, maybe small toys, having a conversation, involving them in ordering. These support attention and reduce behavioral escalation.
It is really hard to have a conversation with a 3-year-old.
They love to have a conversation with you, though. It just makes no sense. They're just like, pourquoi, 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 asking why all the time.
So the important thing is not keeping them quiet and busy to themselves. It's about supporting regulation.
That might look like for them. So, we have a little pack of Bluey drawings, crayons, and stickers, and that's something that we bring on our restaurant outings. It's not something that Marvell has access to at home. Otherwise, it's her special toy for when we go out.
So you're out at the restaurant, Marvell's playing with her Bluey coloring, and then loses her mind. What do we do when it's not working?
It sounds like you were out with us last weekend. But the point here is to reset early. Step outside, take a break, and change the input.
And the important part here is before it escalates, before the volcano erupts.
Because from a regulation standpoint, early intervention is easier than recovery.
And sometimes that means you leave.
And that's okay. That's not failure. That's adjusting to reality and what is right for today. And maybe today wasn't the day, but it also means you can try again tomorrow. Get your food to go, have it delivered, try again tomorrow.
So the takeaway is, this is not hard because you're doing something wrong.
Going to restaurants with kids is hard because it's developmentally demanding.
You're asking for high-level regulation in a really high-demand environment.
And the goal here is not perfection. It's reducing friction, slowly building the skills, and adjusting your expectations.
Knowing it will get easier.
Because it does. The more that you do the hard thing, the easier it gets.
In the meantime, lower your standards slightly.
Lower your standards. That is definitely the strategy.
And pick the right restaurant.
You will know when it is not the right restaurant. You will know.
And that's our episode today.
Thanks for joining us. This is the Rolin Forward podcast.
I'm Dr. Alicia Rolin.
I'm Dr. Stephanie Rolin.
Give us a 5-star review if you liked today's episode.
And send it to someone who has also had a chaotic restaurant experience, perhaps while sitting right next to you.
Send it to your poor friend who suffered with you the last time you went out with your child. Explain that it wasn't your fault.
It's hard. Going to restaurants is hard. You have to do a lot of things.
Can find us on social media. Send us an email at RolinForwardShow. That's ROLIN @gmail.com.
And we'd love to hear about your restaurant experiences.
Until next week.
Doctor, sister, science, facts.
Also, I'm tired because I almost read your names. I almost said your name instead of my name. I was almost like, I'm Alicia Rolin. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. I'm not Alicia Rolin.
But like almost. School things are the same, even though my hair is pink.